Sandy, here we are. We're in my house again. And I keep saying again, I think we've started this podcast 3 or 4
we had
times.
a couple technical difficulties. So, we've said good morning so many times, we're laughing at each other.
Good morning. Welcome to the house.
To be in your house.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy coffee morning.
It's actually tax day. So we have
it is tax day.
It is, even though they changed the due date. And I think sometime in my career, it went from the 15th to the 17th, technically. Right. I don't know. It will always be the 15th for me.
I know. I'm sure that sticks in your head.
Always.
The April 15th. And your children were all born in April. Yeah. I'm sure that was planned.
My youngest, actually, I wrote on the caption of a picture last night. It showed me with Grant in the hospital. And the point was, you can be the best planner in the world, but the one thing you can't plan is your OB's vacation schedule. Right. So his due date was April 27th, and the other 2 boys are late in April. And I found out at my last appointment with my OB that he was going on vacation for 2 weeks. Thus, I had 3 options: to wait till he got back. No woman wants to be 2 weeks overdue. No. Deliver by another doctor, which no woman wants that. And I knew it was my last. Or get induced on the 14th of April. And
so it's very interesting because I saw you post something about his birthday on the 14th. And I was like, okay, so she missed that one by a little bit. That one came before tax day.
And I thought, this will be so cool. I'll be the coolest person ever. Their birthdays are going to be the 27th, the 29th, and the 30th. And it's what is one of our phrases, one of our bits of advice in our advice piece was, we make plans and God laughs. Is that
right?
Right. Yeah. So the ultimate planner got burned, but it's all good.
I love that.
Baby Grant turned 21 yesterday. So.
Happy birthday to him. That's kind of exciting to have all kids over 21. I'm kind of looking forward to that because we're kind of at this odd age where we have a 18 through 25. Right. And so we've got a mix of, we're going to go out to dinner and who's getting drinks and who can't. And it's just kind of,
what it reminds me of? Remember when they were little and you wanted to it's kind of like you wanted to get everybody past the line at the amusement park so they could all do the same ones. And it was about the same time you're getting rid of strollers, diaper bags, packing extra stuff.
It was like PG-13 movies.
Right.
Like what's that when we can get everybody.
And now it's 21 and drinks. But there's other restrictions too. Like, I guess rental car is even higher, but there's other restrictions that go around 21.
Yeah.
That it's kind of this big milestone.
Right. All right. So today we're going to talk about surprises.
Surprise.
And last week, Sandy surprised me by showing up on my porch and we're going to share that video and you'll get to see it. It was very interesting. And then we started talking about who likes surprises, who doesn't like surprises. Right. So we polled our friends and family and we got some very interesting responses.
We did. And then I've got to tell you, going into this, okay, so back up a little bit. When I chose not to tell anyone other than 2 of my sons and some clients knew I was coming, because of course you have to plan those things. And I wanted to be sure, my big thing is I wanted to see my sons. And of course I came here for work obligations. By nature, I love surprises. I think they're fun. And I'll kind of get into the why, because it was fun to kind of dissect why I like surprises. My husband hates surprises. And he thought I was crazy. He's like, so you're just going to go and you're like, how is this going to work? And why are you doing this? Like, he could not wrap his brain around. He could wrap it around. And there was a motivation. And that was, I haven't been back for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time saying no. And I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people that I think a ton of, but I knew I could not see them all. So by not saying anything, that prioritized my work and my kids. And then if things didn't work out, they didn't work out.
And I would just surprise whoever.
I just surprised. So that was my thing, is I was just going to show up and surprise.
Oh, and I love it.
That was what I was going to do. But back to making plans, some worked out. I quickly found that not everybody loves to be surprised. It was a great topic of conversation because it dissected a bit of the why behind why I like it. And people I have always thought that stereotypically, I thought people that were outgoing are people that like surprises, and people that are a little bit more introverted don't. And I didn't find that to be true at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a variety, I got a variety of answers, but I was surprised by how many people are pretty selective in what they like to be surprised by. So,
Right.
and I can't wait to hear what you've heard, but the most common thing is I like to be surprised with gifts. Like almost everybody said, a
Right.
surprise gift out of nowhere that's thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
is wonderful.
Right.
Very few people liked the idea of having a surprise party for themselves. They didn't, and
Mhm.
it was between not wanting the focus on them, number one. And I would tell you, some of these people are very much extroverted people all over social media,
Mhm.
but it was the controlling the situation.
Right.
So it was a mixture of those things that if what happens, and one friend came back to me, because she thought of a couple, she had a surprise birthday party, and she actually loved the surprise birthday party, and she truly was surprised because it was before, it wasn't on the day of her birthday. It was in fact maybe a month or two before, and it was on a weird night, like a Monday night.
Uh-huh.
But she got to see all of her friends. The surprise itself was pretty low key, but then she had another example of where she was humiliated. Like
Mm.
it was a certain birthday, and they brought in strippers, but then it had her work friends, and she wouldn't have mixed that type of thing
Oh,
together. And
right.
everybody else had fun, but at her expense.
Right. And
And
it was uncomfortable.
so
It
the
turned into a
control was, or her not wanting to be the focus was, as long as it was low key and everybody was having fun, it was great. So it was just very people surprised. I thought for sure she would tell me, I love surprises all day long. And the most common was, I love a surprise gift. I really don't want to have a surprise party for me. And I'd rather plan things and be mentally prepared for it than not.
you know what? I'm just going to say that is almost exactly the same responses I got from
Mhm.
my friends. They were all very cautious. One person said, I don't mind personal surprises, but I don't like surprises at work. She's like, don't give me
That's
any
a great
work
point.
surprises. And I was like, yep, that's a good point, because usually those are stress inducing. They're not fun surprises typically when it's a work surprise.
Right. Right.
And then, you know, I don't know. I don't think I had anyone say yes.
I had
I
one
like
that said
surprises.
yes, but then she actually came back and said, can I change my video? Because she changed her mind on the best surprise. She started with, I always love surprises. And even as I got to thinking about it, it's I can say I love surprises, but I love the one to surprise others. Now people love it because I send a lot of packages and a lot of
Mhm.
cards, and people love to get my little surprise packages. But of the people, good me coming here and surprising people, I heard a lot of, I wish I would have known. Some people were out of town,
Oh, right.
had other things going on. Now, again, I had a little bit of a motive behind this because I wanted people to live their lives. And I knew that if we moved, mountains,
Right.
it wasn't going to happen. I will tell you, showing up at somebody's house. Now, of course, you do organization for a living. So showing up at your house, everything is beautiful, right? But not everybody
Wow.
was like that. And it's like, oh my God, she showed up at my door, where I did feel a little guilty, because people don't want to be surprised in their home when they're not mentally ready for it.
I'm just going to tell you, because I was checking myself
Right.
in this whole process, because a lot of people I asked, they like to surprise other people,
Right.
but they didn't like to they didn't
Right.
like to be
Right.
surprised. And I started evaluating my thought process
Mhm.
from when you showed up last week,
Right.
because it was very interesting last week compared to this week.
Right.
So
Because you knew I was coming. We
you
talked about it.
surprised me last week. So you came in and there were things that went through my head. Have I brushed my teeth this morning? I haven't fixed the back of my hair. This was last week. I was like, did I brush my teeth? Because you're right here with me.
Right.
We're not on video. So
Right.
I have to make sure I brush my teeth, which I don't know if I don't know, but I was like, then it was, I didn't fix the back of my hair because I was only going to be looking at the
Right.
front, and I had taken a shower the night before. So the back was all just messy. And then our house, we have 2 dogs and Bella likes to chew stuff up. So there was stuff all over the floor. And so
Which of course I never in a million years noticed. All I could see was,
it
oh
was,
my gosh, I love, oh, look at that, the wall, the pictures. This is
I
so
know.
cool. That's what I noticed.
But it was interesting because I was like being hard, and I talk to people about this all the time, and they're like I always say, I like to leave a little bit of layer of dust at my house because it makes everybody feel better about their own houses.
Right.
So I try not to be, too neurotic about how the house looks. But today I caught myself. I straightened the rug. I picked up all the junk that Bella's chewed up. I put the blanket away that was on the couch. I made sure the coffee was made. And I was going through this checklist because I knew you were showing up. And it made me feel more in control. And, I made sure I fixed the back of my hair. It was just, so I get the wanting to have control and wanting to make sure you're presenting your best
Right.
when you're going to meet with somebody.
And like with Zoom, back to the back of your hair. So my niece, we had virtual book club set up, and
Yeah.
all this has been, I haven't seen her for a year and a half. Well, she came to visit, but virtual book club. And so I had my mom, and it was, the planning is so much fun when you're putting this part. So why don't you facilitate and say, Sandy's running late because my mom and I share, she gets on my Zoom account so she can start meetings.
Oh, good.
So that's happened before, or, like she'll already be on. And I said, can you get it going? And so first of all, when I went to my niece's, I didn't realize that there were several places in the apartment. So I went to 3 of the wrong places first. And then her boyfriend had never met me in person. So here's this random person at the door. But back to the Zoom, she's back sitting in her bedroom, but you place everything. If you looked on Zoom, you would see this very zen, some house plants and a candle, and she's sitting there. And I walked into her bedroom. They're in the process of moving. There's boxes and stacks because she basically staged her. You've never seen somebody move so fast to get her aunt out of the bedroom,
Right.
And then, but it was good for me because I realized and she was very happy with the surprise, but yet she would never have had me come over to her house because they're in the process of moving.
Right.
And they have shit everywhere.
It's chaos.
And she hadn't put the dishes away in the sink.
Right.
And it did put this realization on me that even with the other surprises that I had, it's like, maybe not show up at people's houses.
Right.
Maybe. And then there's one other funny story that gets back to me focusing on, because the element of surprise, I was really looking forward to certain things. I couldn't wait to see your face. And then we could podcast and we were in the same room.
Yeah.
I was very much looking forward to the virtual book club and knocking on the door. It's like, I was picturing the sweepstakes winner, because I'm so special that we're together, but it's part of being the person.
But I will tell you, sweepstakes winners are always on the front porch.
Right.
They're never in the house.
They're always on the front porch.
They never go all the way in.
So here's the funny part about how you can get so obsessed with the surprise that you don't even think clearly. My running friends,
Love it.
I was really visualizing this, showing up and seeing their faces at 5:30 in the dark because we hadn't run together for forever.
Right.
And we did this for 20 years. So it's like, will they have that look of, oh my gosh, Sandy's here. Of course she's here. What? How can she be here? She's not supposed to be here. Like, when you wake up from a dream and you think you're a kid again, right?
Right.
And we are half asleep. Rained the first day. So I thought they'd go the next day. So I did text my friend's husband and he had me in the know. Well, then they were going out of town for the weekend. So I had already been in town for close to a week. And that Tuesday morning, he texts me. He's like, okay, it's going to be the gym this morning. Perfect. He's like, she has a cold. She's not going to go. And guess what I said? Darn. And I turned around. I was going back to my hotel room. And because I was thinking, I'll surprise her on Thursday. He was in his wisdom. It took about 2 seconds. And she said, oh my gosh, Tom told me that you're in town. I'm going to go running. And then actually 2 other people were still running and I could have ran with them. But I was so caught up in pulling off this surprise that I almost let it go a week before I even told them that I was in town.
Right.
How dumb is that, Amy? But do we get so caught up in our plans? So think about it. I'm the planner to surprise somebody. And it meant so much to me that I almost wouldn't have saw them in order to execute on my
to
plan.
make the plan happen.
Is that crazy?
No, I think that's what a lot of us do, because planning the surprise is fun, and we want the adrenaline, we want the
And we wanna pull it
excitement,
off,
we want to
too.
pull it off, and we want it to be a story that's
Right.
a great memory that we live with forever of, oh, remember
memory,
that
that's a
time you
great point.
surprised me? And
Right.
so because there's surprises in my head that I'm like, oh, those were some great memories. But sometimes we just plain out miss the opportunity because we're
Because we want to
so
make the moment. I think that's my deal. I think I do like to make the moments. And then if I know somebody really, now that I know who doesn't like surprises, it's good for me, because rather than thinking, oh, watch it with that one, it's good to know that a majority of people would rather plan.
right.
Now I did it right with my aunt, because what I did for her is we had a family virtual event to watch. And rather than showing up at her door, I gave her 24 hours notice. That was a surprise, but I knew she would need the 24 hours and not just have me show up at her door.
Right.
But I tell you, these surprises are more about me.
Yes.
And making memories for me, because I get to see their faces. And I do have, like when you said, there's very, very happy memories. And I think for me, I'm not easily surprised. I'm really not. Like I had my surprise 30th birthday party. I knew it. I just knew it. I didn't know all the details, but I knew it. And I can count on my hand the times that, I've been like, knock me over surprise. A couple of them weren't good.
Yeah.
Like it's like how I kind of missed something I
Yeah.
shouldn't have missed.
I should have known this was
But
coming.
3 of them were, there's some of my cherished memories. So
Yeah.
I want to recreate that.
I have my husband, I have a girlfriend. Our birthdays are one day apart. We are literally the same age, one day apart.
Mhm.
And actually it's funny because we both have the same senior ring, and it's a ring that's from a jewelry store. It's not a regular senior ring. So it's actually hysterical that we have it's
Right.
anyway. So she and I have the same birthday. So we celebrate all of our milestones together.
Nice.
One year the guys decided to throw a surprise party. They literally threw it together the week of our birthday. Okay. But it was the evening of an event we were supposed to go to. And I thought we were going to this event. So I was getting all ready, going to this event. And Tom was like, so-and-so, they're stopping over for drinks. And I'm like, why did you invite people for drinks when we need to leave and we're running late?
So
And
you had no clue.
I was completely irritated. I was just really irritated. I'm like, we gotta leave. Like, why are you inviting people who aren't even coming to the event over for drinks before we're going? Like, it
Right.
just didn't make any sense. And I'm just like, and then like one of our friends, they were gonna go to the event with us, and they came by and they're like, oh, we brought some snacks. And I was like,
What?
and I was like, why are you bringing food for this? And they're like, oh, just for the ride over there. And I was like, this is so weird. And then we went outside, and it was like a big surprise. But it was like, I was just so irritated with Tom and all my friends, because I was like, what are you guys doing? This is the most, we're leaving. We have places to be. Why are you guys all here? And why are we bringing food? So, but then it was a great fun evening. It was a small, intimate group, close friends. And so it was a very fun. But I remember being so irritated. And then I also remember the total switch of, oh my gosh, this is so fun. This is fabulous. So I think I like surprises. I've determined I like surprises, but I think it also depends. Like if you would have shown up when we weren't scheduled, and I was like, last night I was thinking about this because we were texting.
Just showed up at the door.
Just shown up at the door, and I took an early shower last night, and my hair was all a mess. I was in my pajamas at like 8 p.m. watching something on TV, and I was like, boy, if Sandy would have shown up right now, I would have been kind of angry because I was a mess.
And then if I need a place to stay tonight.
We would have figured that out. But anyway, it's very interesting.
So Garrett, just really quickly, one time I surprised his dad. We had the house in Colorado, and I decided I was going to surprise him, and his dad flew his dad out for his dad's birthday, and I made it back to the best planning so that dad and I were flying in at the same time, and Garrett thought he was just picking me up from the airport. Surprise, we're both here. His flight ended up being delayed. So first thought is the thought that I really thought that both of our flights were going to land on time, right? And
the coordination.
Yeah. And Garrett and I, from all this traveling back and forth, you land, you tell them, and plus they know because they follow, he's waiting.
Right.
So he knew that I had landed. And back to your irritation, I was making stuff up to try to stay at the airport. Because of course
Right.
you don't check bags.
Right.
And I said, I've got to log in because I've got to submit a payroll. And he's like, well, you didn't plan very well. And don't you have people who can do this? And he was,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and I mean, I had to blow like 20 minutes, a half an hour, because I didn't want the surprise. And I really didn't want to tell him. And by the time his dad got off the train, I mean, Garrett was irked at me.
Right.
And he was in a foul mood because we
Right.
had dinner reservation, and I was trying to make up stuff that, like, how do you make up why you need to stay? And it wasn't enough because it wasn't a whole bunch of people surprised. And he just looked at me, he's like, I love it that my dad's here, but you could have told me. Like, I didn't need you
Right.
to go through all like and then he even said later, he said, please don't ever do that again. But I was so caught up in making that surprise work, and kind of like back to my running friends, is it kind of like the sunk cost mentality? Because now I put
Right.
all this effort into it, and I'm going to pull this off.
Right.
And so I'm not going to change my course.
Not
because-
giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How stupid in retrospect.
Right. All right. So we're talking about our spouses, and because
In a very good way.
in a very good way, because we're talking about surprises, and I've gotten surprises from my husband. You've surprised your husband. It hasn't gone really well prior to the surprise, and you guys actually had a conversation after. We did not, because my surprise was fine, but
Right.
I did let him know that I was completely irritated because lack of planning, like
Right.
all this stuff, all the stories were like, this is so weird. Like, why are we doing this? Why can't we
And
just
even with mine, it seemed I was acting very selfish, because he's like, this
Well,
is all
that's-
about her, because
Right.
because it's really falsehoods to get to your place, right?
Right.
And so it can have a backfire effect, because you do have to lie to people,
Right.
right?
Right.
You do have to make stuff up. And they
Right.
can pick up on that too.
And
Like, this is not right.
It feels weird.
It
It's
feels
just like,
weird. Something's
yeah,
not right here.
right.
We call that the bullshit meter.
The bullshit. Yeah, there you go. Well, in my research, I, was doing a little bit of research on surprises, and it actually said surprise improves our romantic relationships, which I thought that was interesting. And
Breaks up the routine, maybe?
surprise is the spice of life. Studies have shown that when people are bored in their relationship, they become less attracted to each other. Adding the element of surprise can rekindle the lost spark. They need a perfect balance of surprise and predictability. So we
Ooh, I like
need
that.
to have a sense of safety and comfort is important to release oxytocin.
Okay.
I'm not a scientist. I'm an engineer,
We
but
all
not
are now that focus over, right?
oxytocin. I know.
Or it's not over.
And then build trust. But too much predictability is a romance killer.
So, okay, so one of those times I was surprised,
Uh-huh.
Garrett and I decided to get married after we were dating for 4 years, and it wasn't very romantic, meaning that we had conversations about it, because we had no reason to get married.
Uh-huh.
And so it was basically a decision. And then I timed it on, for tax purposes, let's get married right after the first of the year. And then I invited everybody on Facebook and said, I bought a dress at the dress bar in Factory Outlet, actually, for my wedding. So it was I don't want to say it was non-monumental, but it was kind of like, okay, let's do this.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How he surprised me. We both picked out our rings, and we went to Roja, and he had picked up I didn't think there would be, all of a sudden, he was on a knee and he had the ring, and I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget that, because I was so confused and taken by surprise. So it was the act. He didn't have to do that. It was
Mhm.
very sweet. It's not his typical nature,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it was all those things. So was I surprised that he asked me to marry him? No, but I was surprised that he asked me to marry him
Right.
in a surprise way.
In a
And it was
public
very
place
sweet.
with a get, like it was very intentional, sweet,
And then
surprise.
we ended up having this wonderful conversation that wasn't about the technicalities of when and, you know,
Right.
the deep on the whys, but it was more about feeling because he added that bit of, uh, you know, it wasn't such a surprise that I had to think about it or I was stunned because the decision was made, but there was a sweetness to it. It was a sweet surprise, kind of like getting that thoughtful gift.
Yeah.
It's my other example that I thought of was with clothes. Okay, so think about if you get a gift and it's not with clothes, a non-necessity. Okay, so to get a gift and it's a non-necessity where you have to put a lot of thought into it,
Yeah.
maybe some research, those are the perfect gifts because, oh, how nice. It's a bouquet
Right.
of flowers, it's something.
Right.
So two examples I thought of because I'm like, oh, surprise, I'm the girl who says surprise me. I remember as in junior high, I needed a running suit when track suits were really cool in the early 80s. And I asked my mom to surprise me. And it was something I needed to wear for the track team every day. And it was, sorry, Mom, if you're listening, I don't think she is, but it was like a really ugly color of green. And I should have tried it on first. And I hated that sweatsuit and everybody else had cute sweatsuits, but I told my mom to surprise me.
Right.
And the other one was when I was in college and I gained the freshman 15, we were all meeting at the bar and I asked my roommate to grab some clothes for me. And I said, surprise me. Well, think about that when 80% of your clothes don't fit. And I remember thinking, because I didn't want to go home and I was trying to get those jeans on and I was like a stuffed sausage who could barely breathe. And I'm like, what was I thinking?
Why would it surprise me? I don't think I've ever told someone surprise me.
You don't think so?
I'm trying to think if that's ever come out of my mouth.
I say that a lot. Like I'll say it with, what do you want me to bring for dinner? Where should we go for a restaurant? Those are typical things. But if they're things that require decision-making or like it's part of my being, and if I thought about it, I'd probably think of some other times because I tend to say surprise me because I like fun and it's going to be fun and maybe I'll get this moment. Like 1 out of 10, I'm going to love it, right?
Well, yeah.
And then instead I'm at the bar going, I can't, it was a Seinfeld episode. Surprise me, I can't fit into my clothes, but why don't you bring me something out of my closet that highly likely I can't fit into?
I love it. That's hilarious.
But it's funny things like that too. So
yeah.
I like that what you just talked about, how the predictability, it's the spice to life, but you still want the predictability.
Yes. It's a balance.
Bring me the bouquet of flowers. I don't care if they're tulips or roses. Surprise me. Good surprise.
That's it. Yes. So
and
I would say that
because it's your favorite color. And I remember you telling me that a year ago on a date. Wonderful. Thank you.
Right. And I think we talked about this a little bit in the love languages about intentional gifts, intentional surprises, thoughtful surprises, I think are awesome.
Right.
But if they're bad surprises, they're not good.
Like with it can happen in friendships or couples too, all kinds of things. But usually in a relationship with your husband, you really become part of a routine, and it's kind of fun to watch the other one make an effort to break up the routine a little bit.
Right.
With a little spontaneity, you know?
Right. And I'm sitting here thinking, how can we break up our routine? I'm just sitting here thinking, how can I surprise Tom this weekend?
and sometimes it's the surprise is, I find, and it doesn't have to be surprise, but Garrett will have in his head, this is how the next 24 hours are going to look. And I tend to have a little bit more spontaneity. So this is on the edge of surprises, but I'll come in and say, it's a beautiful day. Oh, an example would be St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had bought this cute necklace, the St. Patrick's necklace, and we had our little ear things. And I'm like, it's so nice outside. Let's just go somewhere and have a beer. And he's like, everybody's having a beer. Can we just go in, the hot tub? I want to go to the gym. And I'm like, you know what? I promise this won't be a 3-hour thing. And we went and we sat outside because everybody has a lot of outdoor, and we had this great conversation, and we were home by 6:30, and we actually, and it was all good. He's like, thank you for pushing me to do something outside my zone.
Right.
So for him, I knew better than to say, oh, surprise, I booked a room, we have to go, or, blah, 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 blah. But it was the spontaneity, but I gave him the ability to be bought in first.
Right.
And make that jump. And that was a leap for him. Whereas for me, that'd be like,
sure. Let's
go.
I'm in.
Don't tell people.
I'm a little bit more like Garrett. I'd be like,
I gonna
just,
find
I,
out.
my head is already in my pajamas
Right.
on the couch drinking some wine.
Right, right.
So I'm more like him, which Tom's more like you. He'd be like, let's go.
Do it. Okay, what else are they saying in the studies? Is there more we should know? I love this. We gotta
We're
break
getting,
this down.
I
Why am
have
doing this
so
stuff?
much, there was so much. One of the things was our brain, it takes, like there's this 1/25th of a second that it takes our brain to process what's happening. Like, so I'm sure you've experienced, like we're trying to make sense of what's happening.
Yes.
And so it's like
Back
this
to that, I woke up
pause.
from the dream, and am I 18? Am I, what's going on?
Yeah. And I was thinking about that when you were walking up on my porch, and I'm sitting there, and I think I told you this last week,
You're
where
like suburbia.
I know, it was like, boy, Sandy's out walking. That's interesting because we're supposed to be recording our podcast, and you're recording,
but
and
she
you're out
does run
walking.
a little late.
Well,
quite a
I was
bit.
like, well, she's recording on a
Predictable.
walk. So I was like, okay. I was like, so you're outside. And so that was one thing, me trying to figure it out. Then the next, I'm processing the area, and there's lots of houses around. And I was like, wow, her neighborhood's a little bit more suburban than what I thought she lived in. So that was the second thought. And then I
The
saw the
T.
big T on the porch. I'm like, you're on my porch. But it was like, I could, when I was reading this about, it takes time for our brains to process the surprise and figure it out. We're trying to put the puzzle together.
And when it's
And it
really
was very
pleasant.
interesting.
So probably one of my favorite surprises was ever. And we were so surprised. My mother's parents both passed away pretty close to each other in the year 2000. And we started family reunions. Every 2 years, we have a big family reunion for my mom's family. Especially one of my brothers was very, very close to my mom's brothers because they farmed, and he worked on the farm for years. And you have this bond.
Yeah.
And he loved, and everybody adores my brother, but he was living in Vegas at the time, and he worked a lot, and he couldn't come back for this family. It was our first family reunion, and we got it. He had really small kids, but in our hearts, of all people we knew, he wanted to be there.
Right.
So that part, but he doesn't travel a lot because he works a lot. So it wouldn't be, and he's not a sporadic person. He's not a surpriser. There wasn't a hint in my mind that he would show up for this. And it was at Lake Okoboji. And I'll never forget the moment and I was by my mom and dad, and we all started crying. But we were so happy.
I was going to say, those are happy tears.
It was happy tears. And I was happy because back to, you know what? The surprise wasn't about us. Like, hey, it's Sandy's birthday, which is all good. Back to when you saw your friends, it turned into, oh my gosh, all these wonderful people together in one place. How great.
Right.
It was about him and about,
Yes.
So
and
it was
being there with everybody
there,
else.
and it was this happy thing that we wanted to have happen.
That gives me goosebumps. I
So
love
it
stuff
was
like
really
that.
cool. And so that surprised, maybe it's something, having instances like that I really want to relive that.
Right. Yeah.
Once you get that little adrenaline, you want to do it.
It is a little bit of a
It's
surprise
a gift you want to give to someone, right?
Right. Totally.
But here when I come home, oh, look, it's me. And they're like, oh, okay.
No, that's not true. That is not true. All right. So we
yes.
we need to be wrap up. So
Yes.
I have this table topics box, and last time Sandy was here, she was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's table topics. I'm like, oh, that's what we should do for our wrap questions.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is a good easy one, because sometimes these are hard. What's your favorite fast food meal?
Burger with no bun.
A burger with no bun.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like which one? Which
I like
fast food?
I will take all. I like a thicker burger. Without a bun, you need a thicker burger, and most everybody has that burger with. As long as I can get tomato, lettuce, maybe add the bacon and
like
some
all
condiments.
The good condiments.
Yeah, cut it up. I love ground beef in general. Like I could just fry ground beef and eat ground beef.
Oh, interesting.
So a hamburger without a bun's perfect. And it's trying to get rid of the carbs.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, how lucky am I? I get a burger.
Yeah.
So that's mine. How about you?
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna say Cane's chicken. Like if I do fast food, it's like, oh yeah, that's with their iced tea, unsweetened iced tea. They've got the best iced tea.
So my youngest son loves Cane's. And I tell you, like, if I gotta pick anything, Wendy's, Runza
Yeah.
when I'm in Omaha,
Runza, yeah.
Sonic is a good burger, you know, so I tell
Nice.
you like those, but you can get almost every fast food place has like
Mhm.
their deluxe burger
Without a bun.
without
Nice.
a bun. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good idea. I'm not as much of a burger person as you are, obviously.
Well, I never was for years because I thought I can't have the calories. I can't have the calories.
And
And
then you took out the bun.
I took out the bun, I took out the sugar, and you know, I keep my weight down just fine.
Yeah.
So, but then I don't get the fries and the pop on the side.
I know the fries. I always think of the fries as Freaky Friday. I don't know if you remember where they switched places and the mom.
Totally remember the movie, but I don't remember the fries.
Well, the mom was like so excited she could eat fries.
Oh yeah.
She's
The
like,
metabolism.
oh my gosh, I'm 16. I can eat French fries. So anyway, all right.
Okay.
We should wrap up. Thanks, Sandy. Great
You're
to see
welcome.
you.
Thank you for the coffee, and everyone have a great weekend.
All right.